While some call Aeroméxico North America's most underrated airline, others see it as a nefarious corporation unworthy of Mexico's flag. Today I'm not only finding out whether Aeroméxico is amazing or awful, but also experience the uniqueness of flying domestically in Mexico for the first time. We start our journey in Mexico City, a small town that casually holds the title of second largest city in the entire Western Hemisphere.
I would like to check out. Yes, it's okay?
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Ja, NMB Volkswagen. Hi. Approaching the massive Terminal 2 of Benito Juárez Airport, it's easy to see how this is the country's largest airport. With its enormous terminal, bright departure hall, and translucent roof, Terminal 2, which is dedicated entirely to SkyTeam partners, feels more like a convention center than an airport. Here you have the option to check in at the counter for free, which in Mexico too is not something you can take for granted anymore. However, if you happen to own one of these new technological miracles they call a cell phone, you can simply check in online and head straight through security with nothing more than a mobile boarding pass. While checked luggage isn't included with Aeroméxico, you are allowed to bring 10 kilos of hand luggage plus a personal item on board. These amenities, however, come at a price. On this route, for example, Aeroméxico is about 2 to 3 times more expensive than its competitors. But with only around $90 per person for today's trip, at least domestic flights are still priced rather reasonably. Before heading to the gate, we try the Aeroméxico lounge, or at least we try it. Because despite being listed on the Priority Pass app, for some reason they don't accept priority passes. This leads to the uniquely pleasurable experience of being rejected at the door in front of everybody else, so we move on to another lounge. If you can call it that, because lounges in North and Central America keep proving my point, which is that they're not that great. I mean, the only food they have at the lounge are nachos and melon, which is fine if you hold an unlimited priority pass, but if you pay the $25 entry fee, it makes no sense. For the 3 of us, my brother, my wife and me, that would be $75 basically for nachos, melon and water. At least the view is nice. But when I look a little closer, my confidence in the airline starts to fade. But this is Aeroméxico Connect, which is a very different story from Aeroméxico itself. Or at least I hope so. The mainland carrier seems to be well established, serving around 100 destinations on 4 continents. To my knowledge, it's also the only Latin American airline flying directly to Asia, but I also always forget just how huge Mexico is. It's the 13th biggest country in the world by landmass, so it's no wonder there are more than 40 domestic destinations too. Today we're headed to one of them, Puerto Escondido. Like most planes in Aeroméxico's all-Boeing fleet, today's ride is a 737, a MAX 8 to be exact. With the history of this aircraft, it's not really my favorite, so for me the fleet is not a big plus of Aeroméxico. Unfortunately, we couldn't book seats together, which was a bit annoying, but it is what it is. At least the crew seems welcoming and the cabin itself feels comfortable, so overall the flight still starts on a pretty good note. I'm also quite impressed with the onboard product, but let me give you a short tour. The seats recline and come with an adjustable headrest that feels more comfortable than what an economy class flight should be allowed to offer. There's also a universal power outlet, and my personal highlight is the massive in-flight entertainment screen right in front of me. With 79 centimeters, that's about 31 inches, Aeroméxico gives you roughly 11% more legroom than its local competitors Viva and Volaris on the same route. So all in all, with this kind of interior, Aeroméxico easily has one of the best onboard products I've ever had on a domestic economy class flight. As the plane lifts off from Mexico City, the first thing that hits me is just how endless this place is. It's just concrete stretching out in every direction as far as you can see, and then suddenly it just stops. Out of nowhere, there's this massive empty patch cutting through a sea of houses, like somebody forgot to hit copy-paste on that part of the city. Even though you may believe that the empty patch down there is the pickleball court of some very ambitious local sports club, it's actually what remains of Mexico City Texcoco Airport. What's Mexico City Texcoco Airport, you may ask? Well, it's a project where Mexican taxpayers had the honor of burying about $3.5 billion before the project was finally abandoned. I don't know anything about politics in Mexico, but burning billions on an unfinished project sounds like peak government efficiency. Anyway, for a country the size of Mexico, 3.5 billion is probably just peanuts. Which brings us neatly to the topic of catering. Since today's flight is only about an hour and a half, I wasn't expecting a full Mexican feast with a bottle of tequila. Not that it wouldn't be nice. Instead, a cup of water and a tiny bag of salted poison for anyone with a peanut allergy feels just about right for the occasion. Anyway, it's time to relax. To my bitter disappointment, today's flight is just a few minutes too short to watch the My Little Pony movie. Still, it's nice to know that a multilingual IFE has enough content to circle the globe a couple of times. You can even connect your AirPods directly to the IFE, log into the free Wi-Fi, and chat with your homies who ended up a few rows away. Little touches like that really make a difference, and I know I can be hard to please sometimes, but I am impressed. When it comes to the onboard product, Aeroméxico actually delivers something impressive. The airline is 20% owned by Delta, and even though I have never flown with a US carrier myself, I have heard plenty of good things, and experience that level of quality here too feels quite refreshing. Another highlight comes with the view on approach to Puerto Escondido. It may not be as famous as the beach towns along the Riviera Maya or Baja California, but this laid-back surf town is steadily gaining attention. Once a small fishing village, Puerto Escondido on the Pacific coast of Oaxaca has grown into a destination that attracts visitors from many places with its relaxed atmosphere and surf culture. If you ever plan to visit, Aeroméxico might actually be a good option. We arrived on time and the whole experience turned out far better than I had expected. The onboard product feels refined, almost premium, and while prices are higher than with the low-cost carriers, they remain reasonable. Of course, there are cheaper alternatives such as Volaris, which you can check out in my video from Oaxaca de Juárez to Cancun. Thanks a lot for watching and see you soon.